What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dig It Podcast. I'm your host, Drew Walsh, and today we got Coach Luke Toms in the house to talk all things Infield vitamins. Coach Luke Toms, thank you for coming on the Dig It Podcast. Please just start by introducing yourself. Give the listeners a little background of what you're about, what you got going on, and how you got to where you are today.
Sweet. Yeah, well, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Pumped for this opportunity. So, my name is Luke Toms. Infield vitamins.
Got to take them daily.
Got to get them.
Got to get them.
It was one of those things that just came to me where, out of nowhere, I thought one day I was like, hey, like maybe I should start posting videos on infield play because that was my biggest thing as a baseball player. You know, my bat did play. But
don't get it twisted. He's still hit.
Yeah. I can swing a little bit, but I think defense is one of my favorite things that I like to prioritize over anything else. And it all started.
Can I stop you? Okay, there you go. I was going to say, I want to hear why. Here we go.
Yeah. So, growing up, I was always a big guy on taking ground balls, whether if I was in minor league, major league, like from that 7 and 8 year old to 9 through 12-year-old. I was always a kid that just loved to get extra reps. Not always hitting, but fielding, because I thought that, fielding always wins ball games, like defense, and I'm a huge Cal Ripken guy. Because I'm from Baltimore. So I love Cal Ripken and, everything that he stood for as far as defense. I've heard him talk multiple times on, how he prioritized defense, and it stuck with me growing up, going from the youth level to, 13 to 14, middle school, and then up through high school. And then got fortunate enough to take my talents to the South to play baseball. Man, let's see. So I would say I got recruited my junior summer from a school called Northwest Shoals Community College in Alabama. It's a small little town in Muscle Shoals.
Okay.
And going into my senior year, I was committed. Found out after my first game of my senior year that they folded their program due to funding. So I was like,
wow,
what am I going to do? Had a couple other visits at some junior colleges in Alabama. By the way, shout out to JUCO Bandits.
JUCO Bandits in the house. There we go.
I get it, man. Ended up going to Wallace State Community College, played for a coach by the name of Randy Putman, who is in the Hall of Fame for coaching at the JUCO level for baseball. I think he has over 1,000 wins. They call him the Nick Saban of junior college baseball.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. Can't imagine, and go through the stuff that I did as far as conditioning, weight training, and just mental toughness. Left there, got injured, tore my PCL in the summer of my freshman year in the NYCBL. I played for the Geneva Twins. Tore my PCL and then left. Coach gave me 3 options: stay home, redshirt, or we're just going to take your scholarship, or you can go somewhere else. So I chose route, go somewhere else. Ended up going to Motlow State Community College in Tullahoma, Tennessee, close to where the Jack Daniel's distillery is. Nice little town. Nice little town. From there, redshirted that year, my sophomore year, and then went in and had a huge sophomore season. So I tore my PCL and I was very limited. So for me, every time my team was playing, I was in the cage either swinging or getting some sort of ground ball work. And then after there, got a scholarship from Lee University and finished my last 2 remaining years there. Was an all-conference shortstop. I think I might have led the nation in home runs as a shortstop in D2. Defense wasn't my greatest thing, but it was something that I took a lot of pride in. I would always watch film, watch videos of players that I can try to model after. And because I was a huge Tulowitzki guy too, back whenever he was playing, because I was tall, somewhat athletic. So I prided myself on playing a little bit like him, a little bit unloose off the hinges and just go get it.
Love that. Fire me up over here. Playing offense, baby.
Yeah. And so after I got done playing, had a couple of opportunities to play indie ball, but I'll just be honest, I was burnt out. Had a couple pre-draft workouts with some pro ball teams, but nothing panned. So I went into coaching, and infield became one of the things that I wanted to just mainly focus on. Wasn't hitting, wasn't like base running or all that stuff. It was defense and infield. That was my thing. And then took a couple of years at the local high school that's in Cleveland, Tennessee, where Lee was. Coached a lot of studs, couple are that played D1, one that's finishing up at University of Tennessee this year.
Wow.
And then met my wife her senior year. So that was my second year after I was done. It was my super duper senior year, finishing up my
super duper senior year.
Yeah. So this is after I'm done. I still got like another semester to get that degree. So she played volleyball at Lee, and I met her, and then I moved out to Vegas. Didn't really coach a lot. I kind of took a couple years off to myself, just like gather myself. And then like it hit me like 2 years ago. I was like, man, like I want to get back in it. Like I feel like I have way too much knowledge that was poured into me that I need to pour back out. And so I started coaching at a local school called Arborview. It's about a mile away down from my house. Infield guy there, helped out with JV and varsity. Left high school ball, and now we're in this year. And I'm with the Canes. I'm a rover coach for the high schoolers whenever they travel out in the summer ball to like Arizona, Cali, stuff like that. And then I'm the infield instructor for 13U up to 18U. So like every Monday night, we would go out there, get some glove work for an hour, 2 hours, then call it a day. And then for my 13s, I chart infield and defense, defensive setups, situational setups, and stuff like that. So, and then yeah, that's pretty much summed up into that.
That's no light sum up. That's a lot there for listeners. Did you get all that? The trajectory of Luke Toms and where he is and where he's at now. I love it. That was awesome. And all I got from that was just an ungodly amount of passion for the game of baseball, and specifically infield play, which if you got a passion for infield play, me and you could talk for days, right? That's something that I always find common ground with. And you could always just like, you hit it off with someone who likes infield play. And because there's like underneath the layers, there's a DNA that everyone shares, that you took pride in the details, the little things that you see a lot in all youth travel ball, baseball and softball. A lot of people love to hit. They're not necessarily begging you for extra ground balls. And anyone who is, that's our guy, that's our girl. When you say chart, I just want to, before I forget, what are we looking at? You said defensive setup. What are you charting for those ages?
Yeah. So for my 13s, it's all about for them, the biggest thing that I'm trying to teach them is internal clock.
Internal clock. Awesome.
Yeah. So especially at that age, whenever you transition to those 80 feet to 90 feet bases, I mean, that's 10 feet. So for me, it's like teaching them to know. So my equation is velocity of the ball hit, speed of the runner, or time speed of the runner equals my time to first base. And that's one of the things that I've been trying to just pour into them, as far as balls hit to you, you should know off the bat how fast this ball is hit. That runner at the plate equals my time to get this ball to first base or to my target, wherever it is, if it's second, third, or first. And just teaching them that knowing who is up at the plate, you don't have to rush. Also, you don't have to take as much time as you possibly can, right? Stay athletic, work your feet, work through the baseball, and cut the distance or shrink the field or gain ground, gain momentum to your target. And that's one of the biggest things that we are trying to accomplish, is not just fielding and throwing. Fielding, working the feet, getting us to our target.
And I think a lot of coaches will sit there and say, it's just a game of catch and throw, which 100% it is. You can't argue that. And then you'll talk to other coaches who will be like, it's really not that complicated infield play. You just catch the ball and throw it. I'd have there's a big debate there. And I just think you don't want to go into the trees on how hard this position is and how many nuances go into it outside of just the internal clock. There was a lot we could just talk about within that. not adding everything else to the equation. So with youth ball, different from college, when you're in college, you have scouting reports, especially on returning players, on, underclassmen. It's a little tougher. It takes a little time for scouts to kind of create that report. So for 13U, do you base it more upon like, hey, listen, like leadoff runner typically is going to be a speedier guy. 2, same thing. 3 might be a banger or he's just athletic, so he might move. Do you go through that type of phase from the top to bottom lineup, or is it, listen, like we know that because I know in the MLB, the average runner gets down the line in what, 4.2 seconds?
Yeah, 4.2, 4.3. Yep.
Do you happen to have the 13U travel ball circuit average time? What do we got?
That I do not, but I will say, you'll see some teams throw out a donkey in the leadoff spot. I've seen
Okay.
coaches throw their 3-hole guy who plays first base up at the top of the lineup just because they want to get him on base. That guy's a base clogger. He will get on base, either if it's a walk, hit by pitch, or he can just swing the bat. I think a lot of it has to do with, like having feel and looking at the player. If they're small and they look a little bit athletic, chances are I'm going to have to be a little bit quick to my target. And then a lot of the time I'll tell them like, hey, it's on you now. Watch the game. Watch the game. Balls hit to you. Again, the biggest thing is the velocity of the ball that's hit. If this ball is hit and you're moving through it, chances are we're going to have a little time to take a couple steps and throw the baseball. Ball's not hit so hard and I have to come and get it aggressively, like my step pattern towards the ball is aggressive. Chances are I'm going to have to go on the run and make a crazy athletic play. Or vice versa, a ball that's hit hard, I drop step. Now I have time to get my feet around, get aligned to my target, and make a good throw. Stuff like that. But you'll be surprised. You'll see different kinds of lineups. But a lot of the time I let them play it out because I don't want to be, lack of better term, like up their butt 24/7. Like, hey,
Sure.
green guy, fast, slow. Like, let them learn. Let these kids learn. They're 13. They're not pro. They're not college, right? Let them learn. Let them play.
And I love that. And there's so much to uncover there. One thing I think good coaches do well is, tempo training, creating rhythm and timing within a practice plan, creating controlled environments, creating uncontrolled environments.
Yes.
And then it depends upon who is in front of you, right? Like what they can handle and what cues they need to light a fire under their behind, And I think what ultimately we want to do is see where your player falls on that spectrum, in the sense like, are they equipped with the right tools to play at a quick speed? Like if I say to you, play as fast as you can without losing control, does it look like you can get a ball with a speedy runner? Do you have the ability and skills, whether it be closing the gap, transfer abilities, throwing abilities, and versatility? Do you have those? Are you really, really, really talented when the game doesn't put pressure on you? Are you very composed when you don't, like, there's no adversity? Well, let's create adversity. And it's kind of just like you kind of play that chess game with them, and then you understand what's in front of you. But I kind of just, you said it earlier, I believe we were off air, in the effect of timid. Like we see a lot of infielders who are timid. I'm sure a lot of coaches could relate to seeing, you go out and watch a game and say they're, 9 to 13U. Hitter hits the ball and you watch the first step of an infielder and it's kind of panicky, right? It's kind of like, they're like almost surprised. They're not sure exactly how to respond. And I just think you're trying to chase the game. That's a tough game to play. Yep. When you watch older infielders, they're a little more assertive on the velocity because maybe they're just more well-equipped or just have more confidence to go close the gap. But I do love just seeing, I try and tell all infielders, man, like this game labels this position as defensive. We're far from that. We're offensive. We're aggressive. We close the gap. We make mistakes because I think you just got to be able to play the game at its highest speed, and it's easier to tailor it back. What do you do within to spice it up in infield play? Do you have time? Do you have rhythm? Do you call out fast runner, slow runner? What do you have within your drill sets that maybe some of these listeners could start to implement on their own?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things is doing drop ball, which is like side toss fungo. Because I mean, when you're not doing live ABs off a bat, that's going to be the closest thing to live reads off a bat is whenever I have a person that's next to me and they're tossing soft toss and I'm hitting it like a bat. That way you get prep steps, you get pre-pitch movement. That way you can get into rhythm with ball going through the hitting zone and ball hitting bat. Now I'm landing, information gathered. Now I'm ready to go. And I feel like you can only do so much without live ABs. As far as you let them know, hey, we're going to have our outfielders run bases and they're going to start and you're going to tell this guy, hey, you're going to run a little bit slower. And then we're going to go, sometimes I say red or green. Red means slow, green means fast. Or I do 40 is slow, 60 is fast. And I'll let them know like at the dish sometimes where like, let's say like we're in like a random tournament where we don't know any of these teams. And I have a guy here that's probably pretty quick. So I'm like, hey, we got 60 here, 60 at the dish. That lets them know like, got to be quick, 2-step, maybe on the run, got to get rid of it. So I feel like putting them in an environment to where they are forced not to think, just do it. Like let the instincts just go, instead of just getting reps, just ground balls. You got to incorporate some sort of footwork after it's after catch work, pre-catch work, how I move my feet, directional pattern to my target, movement, first step quickness, and just stuff like that.
Yes. And I think also like your throw gives you a lot of inventory or intel, I'm sorry, on what the heck your feet are doing. Like your feet and your throw are obviously intertwined and they tell a tale. You got to educate. I think, the coach's job is to educate them on what the throw is telling them. What do you see with your infielders when you do got a hot guy? You got a 60, you got a green's fast, right? I'm assuming.
Yep, green is fast.
So green's a speedy runner. When they commit and they go, what are some things? What's the common hurdle for them in executing and collecting their out?
Yeah, so I think from the negative side, I feel like sometimes they don't get read off hops or read off the bat. And I tell them a lot of times, like your footwork is dictated off the first bounce off the bat. Anything that bounces inside of the dirt, chances are our movement's going to be towards the ball. If it hits the grass, now I'm just reading hops, right? And sometimes I feel like the negative part is, one, they don't focus on hops. They just go get it. And then two, they rush. Whether it's rushing your footwork to the ball, not getting a good hop, or you're rushing your feed to your target. And so I feel like for me to learn how to teach that is simply just read the hops and trust your athletic ability to get you to your target, right? Trust your feet. That's one of the biggest things. It's like telling them that, hey, the ball doesn't give you a perfect hop, especially on some of the fields that we play on. You're probably going to get hit in the throat, the chin, the nose, the face. So guess what? You got your feet take you to your target. Your feet take you to your hop. So learning how reading hops, right, and learning our aggression type towards that ball and not to rush and panic, right? Because some of these 13-year-olds, like, they have good arms, and I'm teaching them how to follow their throw, gain ground, shrink the field, and get to our target.
Do that and do all those well. You're in pretty good shape. I love it. You basically just said the drill, but my college coach, he's been on this podcast before. He would say, we get to campus and some of the first practices, we would go through our hop zones. So how it was, you described the zone 3. So zone 3 was right outside the mound. He would put cones literally from the third base line to the first base. It's like in a half moon. That was zone 3. The moment we saw contact down off the bat, that was all systems go. Like you were vacating your position, you were closing the gap. And then, our eyes register so much information incredibly fast. You could be moving really fast forward and understand the shape and speed very quickly to organize your feet. But let me not get down a tangent. So whatever, zone 3 is right outside home plate. See that, all systems go, close the gap. Right outside zone 3 is zone 2. That's kind of where like the first hash of the grass is. That's more of our medium pace ground ball. We're still going to work downhill, but we can't be as aggressive. It's probably going to be a two-handed lane. And then zone 1 is a ball hit well. The ball travels over the dirt, and deep into the grass. Now it depends on what lane it's in, but we probably got to create time and space for our eyes with steeper angles or shallower angles. I'm sorry.
Yep.
So that hop zone was really cool. We'd keep it out there for mass fungo just to like kind of just start to really train the eye to see the angle off the bat. And is it a perfect science? No, but the more reps you get, you start to develop a really keen awareness on balls in certain lanes and zones, how to be aggressive with the pace of that ball. And then there's other stuff like, hey, surfaces play different. And you hear that a lot with kids. Oh, I played on a really crappy field. And I understand that. Like, I know I've seen these fields. They're not great. I just don't think we can give it that much power. Like, we can't continue to create excuses, and we have to take accountability, right? Because I think in every ground ball, it gives you an opportunity. If we're really active with our eyes, feet, and hands, there's a chance to get the ball in the air or off the earth. Like, I really, really think there is. And then on the few times where you're not, it is what it is. Tip your cap to the field. It is like, move on next. Like, it's going to happen. It's part of the game. The feet, being aggressive with the feet. I love that. The throw. I think the transfer is a really, we talk about the transfers being the first part of the throwing sequence, right? Like, your handbrake begins your throwing sequence. So if we have say, let's keep it on this velocity and speed of the runner conversation. If we got a ball that's not hit with great velocity and we have a speedy runner, we kind of got to kill the ball, redirect it, and throw it. We don't have time to take that ball all the way up to my midline chest height and release it at whatever is really comfortable for you. It's just, we don't have time to do that. So we have to be incredibly aggressive with our hand speed, or else he's going to be safe anyway, right?
Yep.
So what are some things you talk about with the transfer of these guys and girls? Because I really think that transfer is just huge on them being efficient throwers connected with their feet.
Yeah. So a lot of the times, I'll add as many tools as I possibly can to their toolbox, whether if it's fielding off the right foot, like in between with that two hand, fielding with one, the backhand one. I feel like having good awareness of just working out front versus, because I have a lot of kids that like to field the ball behind their eyes, as in not out front. That way they can't see ball and glove. So I like to tell them, I'm like, hey, what's priority? And they tell me ball. I'm like, yes, because guess what? Without the ball, you can't throw it, right? So I think it's huge that you need to be able to see ball and glove at the same time versus seeing it back here, because now, did we kill the ball? I don't know, because I can't see it into my glove. Making sure that we have good palm presentation, palm out, fingers down, and make sure that we kill that ball. From there, straight to the hand, get it out, right? And then a lot of the time you'll see guys that I love to test. So I'll sit there and I'll hit balls that are requiring athletic movements, whether if they're coming in to get it off balance, whatever, and just watch how they throw. You have some kids that are so long where it's like, dude, you look like you played right field or center field or left field your whole life. As an infielder, you got to be quick. Like, arm action's got to be catch and go straight to the ear, or pull the bow, whatever you want to call it. And then you, like I said, you have kids that are super long, and then you have kids that just look uncomfortable. And that's the thing where with the youth is you have to let them know, like, hey, one slot is not going to get it done. You have to be comfortable with throwing at different parts of your body, different movements, whether if I'm leaning off my right, leaning off my left, or going straight out at my target. I have to be able to work different slots. I can't be a 12 o'clock guy every day. Chances are your feeds are going to be inaccurate and you're going to be working like a pitcher in that straight downhill.
Or you'll be playing right field, right? Absolutely. So I think that's such a great point, and I think it's more dangerous not to expose the youth infielders to different slots in a controlled environment. Obviously not max effort where they're trying to throw it as hard as they can, but building skills at short distances. Why are we going to wait until they get older, more powerful, to throw with more force poorly? And I just, it's really hard position. Give them time to develop and explore these skills so they could continue to play at a high level. So I love everything about that. I'm on the same page for sure about these kids need to be versatile throwers, dynamic throwers to continue to play this game. What are some things, like, you're evaluating a lot of talent throughout the summer, you're seeing a lot of talent. If I'm a middle school guy, or maybe earlier in my high school career, this summer, like we're entering spring and the summer circuit anytime now. Like, what are some things hey, focus on this? Obviously, it's subjective, but like, what are some things you really want to see an infielder do well to continue to follow them?
Yeah, I think consistency, especially whenever you get into that, like you said, the summer circuit where you got eyes on you. The biggest thing is just being consistent, whether if it's fielding, whether if it's hitting, running the bases, or just being a consistent good teammate. And I feel like with some of these kids, they'll make tough plays, but the routine plays are challenging. But it should be the opposite, right? So for me, it's just telling these kids like, hey, like when you're playing infield, it's all about being consistent, always talking, being a great teammate, of course, that's normal. And then just being athletic and trusting your body, trust your prep work, trust your athletic ability, and just going after it. Like, leave no doubt. So that's one of the biggest things that I like to tell them is just be consistent. Right.
Are you going to go? I'm sorry, coach. I was just going to follow up your point. Are you going to go and recruit the heck out of really timid infielders?
Absolutely not. I feel like kids that play timid are lacking preparation, skill, and the lack of wanting to go get it. For me, like, man, like I had a kid this summer that played for us. Shout out Mr. Vivable. But like we had a kid that was a 2026 playing with 2025s, 24s, and 23s. This kid was an absolute vacuum. It didn't matter where the ball was. This kid was getting after it, diving for plays, getting up and just hosing it out, right? And like I like kids that they don't take off reps. They're like JJ Watt. They don't take a rep off or prep step, in between inning ground ball. I love the kids that are doing like Nolan Arenado stuff by like doing crazy backhand plays or doing slow rollers, bare hands, because the game will find you, right? You never know what kind of ground ball that you're going to get. So why not prep yourself, and just watching kids that just have energy, that are just like, this ball's hit to me, I am absolutely going at it, like no reps off.
I love that. And that, man, it takes me back to when I was recruiting for infielders at the university I coached at, and all those things. And to add just the non-tangible stuff, like you won't get yourself crossed off a list by having good body language. You will get yourself crossed off a list by having poor body language. So like some things you could control. So keep that in mind. I love everything about that. Like, be a kid, be free spirited, go play, right? Like, go explore things. And you said in between innings, even during practice, right? And just go explore, do things that you may think you'll do on the field, and learn to get good at them, and they won't be as non-routine as they once felt previously. I love that. That's awesome feedback for the listener. What do you think about, like, when you think back to college? Give me, if you could think back to the most exciting defensive experience you had in one of the 5 colleges you were at. I can't keep up with all that. With love.
I think it was 3. Yeah, it was 3.
I'm not good at math.
Man, defensive experience. Okay.
So what do you think about, like, damn, this all right. This is a summer ball, it was this ball.
Yeah, I would say it was my sophomore year after I left my first college. My sophomore year, so this was my year before going to Lee, my 4-year college. So we were playing up at Cleveland State Community College, and we were up by 1, runner on third, bottom of the 9th, home team was up, and kid absolutely laces a ball. And I'm a huge prep step guy. Like, every stinking time, I'm on time every time. Have to be. Especially with metal bats, these balls are humming, right? So kid absolutely hammers a ball. I lay out and dive, make a play, game over. I think it had to do with like conference play, like it saved us in there to like make.
You went glove side?
It was absolute glove side, yes.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I
and just, I
love
mean,
to
line
hear
drive,
that.
just full extension, just making the play. And I mean, there's multiple others, but I mean, for me, that was one of the ones because my dad came into town and watched me play with my brother. So that was special for me.
I love that. And I just love talking to guys about that and I love hearing that story. So off air, we spoke a little bit about something you've been really, as coaches, we hone in on a lot of different things every day, every week, but there's always like one theme we're really rocking with. And you mentioned one-handed stuff. So just real quickly, just talk to me about, obviously we're always working that, but why and what?
Yeah. So I feel like that's one of the things that's lacking at the young age is teaching those kids that you don't always have to field with two hands. And I mean, I've had conversation after conversation with people that love to disagree, and I love hearing their opinion about it. They
Sure.
feel like it takes them off the ball. For me, I feel like working with one hand keeps you more neutral and free to work, versus like let's say you're a corner guy, opening up, getting that angle to create space. Using that one hand allows you to adjust. You have really good adjustability, whether if it's a hop that stays down versus a hop that comes up. And then I feel like as far as middle infielders, I watched a play a couple of months ago with Bobby Witt where the broadcaster was saying money about it. He was saying how like if he were to go at this route with two hands, his shoulders are now facing right field, and he has to swivel and get back on the target versus getting that one hand. You can create that movement to go towards your target and take that left foot along with it, or getting into that neutral position to throw.
I
So,
love that. And so sorry, my dog Reggie wants to get
yeah.
in on infield play as well. But so when you say one hand, right? Like it's not an absolute, and that's the thing. I think like if I'm having a debate with somebody, it's more about like, hey, let's just find context. Like, when do you think this is applicable? When is it not? Or is it always? Or like, I don't, in my opinion, I never coach absolutes because there's different human beings, there's different athletes in front of me with different skill abilities, right? I just think like if you're to say like no, two hands, don't one hand, no. Like I think that's crazy because there's just so many different ground ball type speeds, throwers, movers that like yeah, you have to be able to develop both of those. And I think your body over time will tell you which one it likes as a superior option, alternative. So am I speaking for, does that make sense? Like
Yes,
there's
absolutely.
always a time and place. Understand shape, speed, and pace of the ball and runner. Because I think there's a really good place to field two hands. There's a really good place to field one hand. I think you gotta go deep into
Yep.
both, and know yourself. So that's great feedback,
And
coach.
especially with, because how many reps you get just normal routine, right? Well, why not mix in just using one hand? Like, why do we always have to use two? And I feel like just like what you said, there's different ways to use it. There's different times when to use it, but it's always good to practice it just like you would practice normal two-hand usage. Like I feel like there's I like to teach. I love using one hand when it's outside of my left shoulder or outside of my right shoulder, right? And then anything that's routine that I don't have to press through or drop back, yeah, of course, go funnel and go. Get your 6 Fs.
The F word. No, just kidding. So if you listen to previous, we have funny little debates about funnel and what it gets expressed at. Like, and
Yeah.
I was the biggest funneler in college. I probably have a hole in my belly button, or my belt line. I coached the crap out of funnel, man. All my players did too. And I started realizing, like, all right, if we're gonna say the handbrake is where we start our throw, why am I taking any time taking my eyes and my glove to my belly button? So we understand that like yeah, funnel is amazing, center, it's repeatable, it's rhythmic. I just think it gets the funnel equals it's expressed exaggeratively.
Yeah.
But it's just more of a funny thing. I understand what we're all talking
Yeah.
about there.
That's actually
The
a great topic too, the whole funnel thing, just because, like I listen to a lot of, like pro infield guys and they preach on funnel. But at the same time, the more I watch guys field, especially on like double plays, I've noticed that a lot of time they'll go hand or glove to hand because it's quick.
Dude, Coach Luke, I was the biggest funnel guy in the world, man. And I just said why I think obviously there's merit to it, but I just think how it gets expressed at the youth level, guys who don't have 95-mile-an-hour arms and aren't physical specimens. I think it gets expressed as incredibly soft hands. They get very hesitant. They absorb the ball into their belly button, and then it becomes a disruption in timing with their feet. But to your point, before I forget, you mentioned Troy Tulo, and I work with, here and there with a former player of his, and we were working together, and he starts doing his dailies, right? And I'm rolling the ball in the earth. There's no shape to it. And he's taking his palm and he's pressing through. And I'm talking to the kid. I'm like, hey, how come you're doing that? Like in my mind, I'm seeing force by force. Like, why aren't we just absorbing that, have a little giving, like a gather and go, like kill, redirect. And, he was like, I just throw hands, man. Like, I don't want the ball coming near my feet. I'm like, awesome. Like, I think we're saying the same thing here. I'm like, but he's doing something different here. Like, but we're saying the same thing. And the aha moment was when we started to get into our drill segments and live stuff. He never did that, actually. Like, obviously, if the ball was sloping down, we all want to press through to meet the ball on plane and work up with our momentum. But when the ball was on the earth, he, in fact, didn't press through the ball. All it was a feel. It was an exaggerated feel to get his hands to kill the ball and redirect out in front of his hands. Feet. I'm sorry. So like he did an exaggerated feel during his daily hand pass stuff, but the way it got expressed was exactly how we'd want it to, textbook. So I thought that was really neat, and that's how I roll today. Ball, that ball with not much shape, hands down front, kill, elbows out. Now we're in a really good throwing position from the middle, which where we wanted to be with the funnel anyway. It's just we don't have to. We cut that stop at our belly button down, which when you play at a hot velocity increases and speed increases, you're going to get eliminated if you're not able to be on time and throw the ball efficiently with the speed of the runner. So I love that. Like, and I'm sure you can make debates, or anyone can make debates on that.
There's so many. There's so many.
It's all,
especially whenever you have people that are very old school with, like the consistency, less movement, less room for error, which I get. But like you said, not every ball requires that.
No.
I feel like, especially like if you watch Ron Washington, he's huge on extension, right? Getting out and picking that last hop.
Yes.
But like you watch guys like, they'll funnel it, but they'll funnel it at like the right time, like a ball that's hopping, like a long hop. They're getting it in, they're seeing it in the glove. Then they do it correct. But any other ball, like it's just like catch and go, get it to the hand, And
it really just keeps the ball away from their feet. And like when you think about the Ron Washington series, I think in context, you got to remember they don't have any feet, so their hands have to be exaggerated. And that's probably the point of it. But when they have their feet and hands working together, it probably just plays as a kill redirect.
Yeah.
So it's just a feel versus real. I love that conversation. Coach, you've been freaking awesome. There's so much gold in that podcast. I can't wait to listen to I'll say that in English. I can't wait to listen to it after we get done here. But let our listeners know where they can find you. I know you do it. You're very active on Instagram. Please let our listeners know, what's your handle so they can go see what you got going on.
Yeah, so my Instagram is at Infield Vitamins, no underscore or anything, just all one. I'm also on Twitter as well. Same thing, Infield Vitamins. I'm trying to get on YouTube, but man, like it's a lot going back and forth between Instagram and Twitter. Instagram and Twitter, that's where you'll normally find me.
Go check them out, guys. A lot of great content that you put from your day-to-day work, and also amazing visuals with great captions for the viewer to really get something tangible out of it. Coach Luke Toms, thank you so much for your time and coming on the podcast. We're certainly going to have you back for a round 2. You have a great rest of your day.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.